Okay, so the first sugya of Masechta Yevamot deals with the beturim of the 15 arroyos. And when you have arroyos and a woman falling in front of a man who's a usher on one, so we said it patas the other. What does pata mean? It means you can't do yibum or chalitza. And in fact, if you would go ahead and do it, right? If you would go ahead and do yibum, if you live with the woman, you'd be chayiv kares. You would be chayiv kares. So where do you know that from? Where do you know that from? The Gemara wants to know. This is Rashi says, but both of them. Rashi says, how do you know you chayiv kares? It's a little shver ahavamina. The Gemara guys, I would simply say, just like you were chayiv kares before the mitzvah of yibum, once you can't perform yibum, right? Once you can't perform yibum, in Memela you're gonna have the isra of Eishesach, so she remains what she was, an erva. But the Gemara, I mean, this is a. I'm giving you the question on the next piece of Gemara. I'm not going to answer it. This is as they say in yeshiva, this is 2 weeks in yeshiva. The next line of Gemara, guys, is 2 weeks in yeshiva. In other words, right now, before there was a mitzvah yibum, you could not marry your sister-in-law. If you did marry your sister-in-law, if you had relations with your sister-in-law, you'd be chayiv kares. Now, says the Gemara, however, if she falls to yibum with an erva, good, then the Gemara wants to know, how do you know you're chayiv kares? Why would you think you're not chayiv kares? We spoke out of Rashi yesterday. As soon as there is no mitzvah of yibum, it remains what? Boom, it comes down to yisur kares. So the Gemara, we're on the Gemara on Gimel Lamed Beis. Gimel Lamed Beis, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 lines from the bottom. Says the Gemara, as hara shamanu, we hear the warning is from Eishesach. That was the pasuk from Eishesach. That's the warning. Don't take her. You're warned. The Torah says, do not take her. How do you know you chayiv kares? And Rashi says, I would have said it was going on the tzara. In other words, fellas, without Rashi, I would have said the following. How do you know the tzara, there's still a din? In other words, since there was a din of yibum on the tzara, it wasn't her problem. It was the erva problem that caused the problem. So maybe you need a new limud for the tzara, but Rashi doesn't say that. Rashi says for the Yevamot also, even for the erva. How do you know? It's a little technical, very technical. Bottom line is, it's Daf Yomi. We'll go on. So einish minayin. How do you know? There's an einish? So Makra the pasuk says, "Kol sheyasim mikol otei." Now, if you look in the parsha of Arayos in Vayikra Yud Ches, you get this whole parsha. And then at the end of the parsha, there's a topic statement, and anyone who does any one of these things is chayiv kares. So that general summation at the end is mechayiv me on the whole parsha. That's where you know it from. Okay, that's the end of that sugya. Now we begin a new sugya. Guys, how do you know there's something called Shabbos? How do you know you can't cook on Shabbos? Because the Torah tells you can't cook on Shabbos. Without the Torah telling me, I could cook. How do you know you can't marry this particular woman? Because the Torah tells me I can't. Without the Torah telling me, I could. The Torah only tells me something to tell me you can't. Without the Torah, I would say I could. Okay, so if I'd wake you up in the middle of the night and say, where is the source? Where is the source that you can't go ahead and be miyabein or tzara b'makom of an erva? You'd all tell me it says lesikach. You'd all tell me the parsha of Eishesach. You'd say it says achas ishtay Yevamot yavay alecha. The pasuk says isha lechayso lesikach litzor legalas ervasa alecha, and we learn that aleha. Even b'makom aleha, b'makom mitzvah, there's an isser. Even b'makom mitzvah, there's an isser. In other words, without the aleha, I would say you do yibum to an erva. Without that, I would say you do it. The question is, why would you think you do? That's the question. What? I need the Torah to tell me you can't. Without the Torah, I said you could. Mehecha teisa, from where would you know you could? That's what the Gemara is asking right now. Ask the Gemara a very, very basic question. You say this to a question. Says the Gemara, Taima, the reason why what? I can't go ahead and be miyabein, a tzara or an erva, the kasar achmana aleha. It says aleha. That's for the Yevamot. Litzra is for the tzara, right? Aleha. Meaning, Yevamot yavai aleha, b'makam aleha, in the place where there is a mitzvah, nonetheless, like sikach, you can't, right? That's the pasuk. Without the pasuk, I would say you could. Halav hachi, without the pasuk, havamina, I would have thought, achos isha miyabemes. I would say you go ahead and your wife's sister, if she falls in front of you, your two brothers married to two sisters, one brother dies, falling in front of now you is what? Is your wife's sister. I would say you do it. My timer. Why would you think you do it? A very, very seminal question. And for the Gemara, the Amrinon, guys, now we're going to begin a digression for 3 days. And this is probably from top 10 sugis in Shas. Top 10 most famous sugis in Shas. I would go out on a limb and say that. Says Gemara, my time, what's the reason? The Amrinon, asi asay v'docha lo sasay. When you have an Aveira and you have a mitzvah, and at the time you're performing the mitzvah, you're doing an Aveira, the mitzvah overcomes the Aveira. Now, what I'm going to do is we're going to say the shir. After the shir is over, we're going to go into the source for asay docha lo sasay. I'm going to give you 3 sources why exactly that is. But right now, in its most simple form, we're going to learn it out from the fact that you can wear tzitzis made out of shatnez. The fact that you can make tzitzis made out of midoraisa, you can wear tzitzis made out of shatnez. Why? Because the mitzvah of gedilim tasel lach, the mitzvah of making tzitzis is doicha the essay of leisil b'shatnez, and this is the source for it. This is the Gemara for it. Asay, the mitzvah asay of tzitzis is doicha the leis asay of shatnez. Good. So now, why would I say over here? The mitzvah's asay of yibum, the mitzvah's asay of yibum is doicha the leis asay of marrying your wife's sister. Since I'm a kind of the mitzvah of yibum by living with this woman, so the asay of being a kind of that mitzvah is docha. It pushes away the los asay of what of achasisha, of your wife's sister. That's what I would say. Therefore, I need a leha to tell me not. Therefore, I need a leha to tell me not. Good, says the Gemara. Amrina asay asay v'docha los asay. Question on that. Eimed amrinon asi asay v'docha los asay. When do I say that? Is los asay greda. A regular loisase, a loisase that only carries with it a lav. If you wear shatnez, you chayev malchus. A regular lav, guys, is chayev malchus. There are more severe that you chayev karis. There are more severe than that, you chayev what Mrs. Bezdin. So, if I don't go ahead and if I wear shatnez, that's a lav. You get malchus. So, if the source, the esi dochalos say is shatnez, which it is, so I would say when you say esi dochalos say, is only when the lois say is one of malchus. But lois say sheish bakaris, achais isha, which carries with it the penalty of karis, midachi, does it go ahead and push off? In other words, we have a kasha now that we're not going to answer for a while. We have a kasha now we're not going to answer for a while. Meaning, you don't say esei dochalosa say by achais isha. Memela, why would you need a leha to tell me that you can't? Why would you think you could? It can't be asay dochalos asay, because asay dochalos asay is only when the say is a lav. Since achasisha is karis, we don't say asay dochalos asay. So if we don't say asay dochalos asay, why would you think that you can marry your yevama? So we're going to leave that question. We're going to digress to go into the sugya of asay dochalos asay. Nothing to do with yevamas right now. Zero. So again, we'll get back to this in a while, but not today. And Visu, in addition, lo sasei grei de minolon. Where do you know that an asay is docha a regular lav? Where do you know it's docha a lav v'karis? Okay, you know the answer. Dichsiv Amid Aleph, it says, le silbas shatnis gedilim ta'aselecha. In Devarim, Perich Chav Gimel, Pasuk Aleph. It says you should not go ahead and wear shatnis. And then in the next pasuk it says it's gedilim ta'aselecha. It says you should go ahead and make for yourself gedilim. You should make tzitzis, right? You should make what? Tzitzis. So it says lesilba shatnis semru pishim yachtov, and that's right next to the parsha of gedilim ta'aselecha. So therefore, guys, we're going to dash what's called smuchim, juxtaposed psukim. Since they're juxtaposed to each other, why were they juxtaposed? To tell me. In the makam of what? Of tzitzis, shatnez is not a problem. Tosfos deals with you do it on your own time. How do you know go the other way? How do you know that what? The makam shatnez is no tzitzis. You know, I could just as easily go the other way. I opted to say the assay of tzitzis is daichel lois assay. I could just as easily say the issur of shatnez makes so you can't wear tzitzis. Okay, the Tosfos deals with that. For Amar Rebbe Laza, smuchim in Torah minayin. How do you know smuchim in the Torah? How do you know there's such a thing as darshaning juxtaposed psukim? So the pasuk says the following. It says ne'emanim kol pikudav. All your laws are ne'emanim, right? Smuchim la'ad la'olam. They are next to each other forever. Asuyim be'emes v'yashar. And the Chacham say the smichas of pikudim of Hashem's Torah is emes v'yashar. And in other words, they're there emes v'yashar for a reason, not for no reason. They're there emes v'yashar. They're there for a reason. So it's a pasuk at the Hillim alludes that there's such an exegesis, there's such a limud, a drasha of smuchim. So and therefore I know since Gedilim Tasal Achad, Tzitzis is next to Leisil B'Shatnis, I know Asay Dochalos Asay. This will be the source. The rest of the Gemara is going to be challenging this source. At the end of the Maskana of today's shir, this is the source. We're gonna attempt to go ahead and slug up. We will be unsuccessful. The source for Asay Dochalos Asay for eternity is the juxtaposition of Tzitzis next to Shatnis. That is it. Now we darshan Smuchim. Rabbi Sheshes Amar Rabbi Laza Mishum Rabbi Laza ben Azariah Minayin li Yevamot shenafla lefnei muchan shchin. Rabbi Zakatinsi asked me this the other day, guys. Do you have to do yibum? So now, how do you know if a Yevamot falls to a mukach shchin? Mukach shchin is someone who is repulsive. He has boils over his body. He's a bad body odor. Another person that lav dafka mukach shchin, but a person for various reasons she doesn't want to be married to, usually of the physical variety. How do you know Shein Chos Minosa that we don't chosim, we don't tell her to shut up and get married? We don't say that. How do you know you listen to her? Shenemar, of course it says right next to the parsha of Yibum, it says like Saktum Shar B'Dishar. Do not muzzle. Only good Gemara could do this, guys. Do not muzzle a shar when it's threshing. In other words, when the shar threshes, to go ahead and muzzle it and not being able to. It's threshing on a threshing floor. There's food right in front of it. It's like, a guy who has trouble dieting, you're putting a piece of a good piece of cinnamon Danish in front of him or chocolate Danish, whatever is his. So the shor, you're not going to do it. Like Sachshim shor. Why does it say right next to it? The Samachle, Kiyeshu Achim Yachdav, the parsha of the Yevamos, where two people are living together. Two people are living together. Why are they next to each other? Tell me in the parsha of Yevamos, if the woman opens her mouth, Loi Sachsim, don't shut her up. Let us say, I don't want to be married to this guy. Even the man the Amu doesn't darshan smuchim all over, in Mishnah Torah darish, in Mishnah Torah, in Devarim, we'll have a drasha. Okay, so outside, let's go outside. In order to darshan smuchim, you have to say there's a placement of something for a reason. There's a placement of something for a reason. It must be placed for a reason. There's got to be a reason for it. If there's not a reason for it, then you can't darshan it. So there's a svara that there's a person who darshans all over b'chol Torah kula, whether it's the Bereshis or Shmos, Vayikra, or Midbar Devarim, two psukim next to each other will darshan. There's another opinion, that of Rabbi Yehuda, the only place I will darshan smuchim is the Mishnah Torah in Devarim. The only place I'll darshan smuchim is the Mishnah Torah in Devarim. I saw a very interesting pshat. We have a klal ein mukdam ucha b'Torah, that the Torah is not listed in order. So if it's not listed in order, how can you darshan smuchim? if it's there haphazardly in a way, it's. But how can you darshan smuchim? However, that's because the whole Torah was given over by Kadosh Baruch Hu, and therefore we're saying ein mukdam ucha. The Devarim is given over by Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu therefore set it up. Why did Moshe Rabbeinu set it up in that order? Obviously, it must be dafka that order. So therefore, we'll be more makbid in Mishnah Torah vis-a-vis smuchim than the rest of the Torah. There's a problem with that pshat. L'chayra, Hashem is divine, and therefore he put it that way, and that's the one who darshan smuchim. But that might be the svara why what? Okay, so now, if you notice, Leisil b'shatnis and Gedilim Tas L'chor are in Kiseitz. They're in Kiseitz. They're in the Torah, and they're in Mishnah Torah. So even if you don't darshan smuchin in Bereshis Shmos V'Yikra Midbar, and only in the Varim, everyone is going to darshan what? Shatnis, because it's in Parshas Mishnah Torah. Everyone's going to darshan, it's the Mishnah Torah. Now, how do you know this from? Says the Gemara. Rabbi Yehuda ba'alma loy darish. Rabbi Yehuda, the Tana Rabbi Yehuda does not darshan smuchim, and a Mishnah Torah darish, and a Mishnah Torah in Sefer Devarim he does. Now, how do you know ba'alma minol and deloy darish? How do you know when he doesn't? Because now we're going to quote from Shmos, guys. Now we're going to quote from Shmos. It says in Parshas Mishpatim, it says a witch you should not live. You can't let a witch live, meaning you have to kill a witch. There's a witch you have to kill. It doesn't say how. It doesn't say what misa she gets. The Nemar, it says next to it, Kol shoichev in behema, anyone who lives with an animal, most yumas, dies. And we know if you live with an animal, you chayiv skila. Samchu inyan loy, ma shoichev in behema beskila, af machashefa beskila. So, since we're darshaning, this is in Mishpatim and Shmos, and you're darshaning smichos, good. Therefore, you're going to get skila. What happens if you don't darshan? You won't get skila. So look what Rabbi Yehuda says. Amalei Rabbi Yehuda, v'chim efneisha samchu inyan lo, because we go ahead and somech something to it. Noitzizel is skila. So obviously, when he says he's disagreeing with this limud, so this is the raya that he doesn't darshan smuchim. He's going to agree that a witch gets skila, but for a different reason, not because of the juxtaposition to bestiality. It's for a different reason. For a different reason. What's the reason? Now there is a parsha mechashefa of kishuf. There's a type of kishuf called ov v'yedoni. Ov is where you'd call up the dead. Yedoni is you would go ahead, take a bone from an animal called the yedoah, put it in your mouth, and it's able to tell you your future. All these are classified as a necromancer's black magic. Why would they take, it says mechashef le'sachaya, why would they take ov yedoni out of the parsha? It's, in other words, it's included in that general rule of magic. Why are you taking it out of the parsha? Says the Gemara, v'lama yatsu ov yedonim mechamach shafim hayu. Ov yedonim are in the parsha of kishuf. V'lama yatsu, why did they take it out of the parsha? Lahakish lahem, to go ahead and make a hekesh to ov yedoni v'lem lecha. Ma ov yedoni beskila, just like ov yedoni gets skila. Guys, by ov yedoni it says, openly, it says, Yirgemu oisam demeyem bam. You should stone them. Their blood is on them. So it says by Ovi Yedoni, Yirgemu oisam. Why was it taken out of the rule? Not to teach me just specifically for itself, but to reflect back on the whole rule. Just like Ovi Yedoni was Ovi Yedoni is kishuf and yechayiv skila, because it says be'evin yirgemu oisai demeyem bam. So too the whole rule of kishuf, you're going to go ahead and get skila, but not because of smicha. So you see, Rabbi Yehuda in Shemos does not daven smuchim. That's the whole reason we brought it in. You do get skila for a different reason, but not because of smuchim. But in Mishnah Torah, regarding tzitzis and shatnez, Hitaka would go ahead and darshan smuchim, and that will be a source for asay dochalos asay. Uva Mishnah Torah minol and darish. L'chayra, how do you know you darshan Mishnah Torah? It's very interesting. L'chayra, he's darshan smuchim over here. You know, why isn't tzitzis a good enough reason? They bring in another thing. Let's say a man is ma'anas a woman. He physically forced himself upon a woman. Can the son marry that woman? A man forces himself. A boy forces himself upon a woman. Can the father of the boy marry that woman? So one is a shtickle going up, right? One is going up like to a mother level, and one is going down to a daughter-in-law level. Machlekes, tetnan. No say adam. This is halacha, guys. No say adam anusas aviv u'mefutas aviv. A man is permitted to marry a woman that a father forced himself upon or talked into. Mefut is like seduction. Anusas beno. A man can marry a woman that had been forced by the son, or enticed by the son. You can, and we don't say it's mother-in-law. We don't say it's kalosai. Why? Because there was no kedushin. Rabbi Yehuda anusas avim for this other. Rabbi Yehuda says no. Rabbi Yehuda says anusas avim for this other would be asa. So if a man forces himself on a woman, the son will not be able to marry that woman. My time with the Rabbi Yehuda. What's Rabbi Yehuda's reasoning why the son can't marry that woman? Because the pasuk says, "La yikach ish es eshes aviv yigala knaf aviv. A person cannot go ahead and take the wife of a woman, yigala, nor be megala knaf aviv. What does that mean? Knaf shira aviv lo yigala. A knaf, literally, a knaf is like a wing. It means protection over. But someone who had been with your father, lo yigala, you should not be revealed. You should not see her without clothing. How do you know it's speaking about anusa? Maybe it's speaking about what a full-fledged wife, right? A stepmother. It says ksiv me alave the because it says above the nasan isha shochiv imo la'avi anaira chamishim kesef. If a man forces himself upon a woman, then the man has to go ahead, marry the woman, and give the father of the woman chamishim kesef. So what do you have juxtaposed, guys? You have the parsha of anusa, of rape. Right next to it, you have the parsha of a man should marry Eishes Aviv. What does that mean? This is Rabbi Yehuda. You have Leisikach. So in the parsha, this is in parshas in Dvarim Chav Gimel Kiseitze, guys. So in Mishnah Torah, you have juxtaposed it's a parsha of Eishes Aviv, a parsha of Anusa, to tell me that one cannot marry Anusa's Aviv. So this will be a source that Rabbi, and who's this? This is the Tana Rabbi Yehuda, because the Chacham say Anusa's Aviv is permitted. We're going to see in a second what they do with the limud. But the point is, this limud of Rabbi Yehuda shows he's darshaning smuchim, because that's how do you know it's speaking about Anusa? How do you know it's speaking about Anusa? Only because of the juxtaposition of what? Anusa to what? To Eishes Aviv. So therefore, you see that he darshans smuchim in Devarim, in Mishnah Torah. Memela, he can darshan of shatness and tzitzis, and you know as Sidokalosa say. What do the Chachamim who say a man can marry Anusa's Aviv, what did they do with this limud? Says the Gemara, interesting enough. Says the Gemara, for Rabbanon who say you could marry Anusa's Aviv, if it was right next to it, you'd be right. But Hashtid loy samechle, it's not right next to it. It says, lo yikach ish es eishes aviv, then it says, lo yikach ish es eishes aviv, between the knaf, and then the knaf aviv. The pasuk says, lo yikach ish es eishes aviv, lo yigala knaf aviv. Let me see the pasuk inside, the worm chav gimel aleph. Thanks. So you have the parsha of Anusa. You have Anusa, Chamishim Kesef. Guys, that's the last pasuk in Perifav Beis. So that's speaking about what? About forcing yourself upon. Then it says right afterwards, it says, don't take Eishes Aviv. And then it says, Lo Yigala Knaf Aviv. So you have the parsha of rape. Then you have the parsha of Anusa. So you want to go ahead, you have 1, 2, and 3. You want to go from 1 to 3. That's what you want to do. You want to go from 1 to 3. You want to go from 1 to 3, skipping over 2. So it's not smichas. In other words, if it was 1 and 2, we darshan, or it's 2 and 3, we darshan. Since it's 1 and 3, you're missing this, you don't darshan. That's the chachamim. So now, what do they do? Lo yigala knaf aviv. What do they do with that, guys? Says the Gemara. So elowat b'shemeres yavam akosim b'daber. It's speaking about shemeres yavam. If someone falls to your father, right? Someone falls to you. Now, let's go through the lineage over here. What's the case of Yibum? Reuven has a son Harry. Okay? Reuven has a brother Shimon. Shimon has a wife. Shimon has 2 wives. Doesn't make a difference, right? Shimon has 1 wife. Let's say 1 wife. Good. What can that wife is to Harry what? It's Eishes Achi Aviv. It's the wife of his father's brother. Shimon is the brother of Reuven. Good. And she, Chana, is the wife of Reuven's brother. That's called Eish. That's an Issa Erva. That's called Karis. Eishes Achi Aviv. You can't marry an aunt. You can't marry your aunt. An uncle can marry a niece, but you all know that a nephew can't marry his aunt. Says the Gemara, the reason it says Lo Yigala Knaf Aviv, it's speaking about a scenario of Shemeres Yavam. That not only can't you marry your aunt, another lav is thrown upon you, you can't marry Shemeris Yavam of Ruvain. So if Shimon dies, and now Chana is the Yevamot, the Shemeris Yavam to Ruvain, there's two Isurim on Harry now. The Isur of aunt and the Isur of she happens to be the Shemeris Yavam of Ruvain, his father. Two lavim, to put two lavim on him. How do you get it from the word kanaf, guys? Beautiful. If you get it from the word kanaf, it says this is based upon the Rishash. It says by Rus. By Rus was an Inyan of Yibum, nice. Rus, that he was a goyal. That's another word from Yibum. So it says by Rus, she says to Boaz, Uparashta kinafecha ala masecha. You should spread kinafecha ala masecha. The lashon kinafecha. You're spreading your knaf, meaning you see that knaf is an Inyan of Yibum. So you have a beautiful remes from Rus, which was a Yibum dika situation. Kinafecha till you got a knaf. That's the Rabbanan source for what? Okay, let's just take. Let's see what we got so far. Let's reiterate. We had a question. We said Yevamot Yavayla. We said a crazy chiddush over here. We said that if the Torah would not tell me by Achas Isha Alecha Leisikach, I would have thought that in fact a man is able to marry an B'Makom Yibum could marry his erva. Why in the world would you think that? The Gemara suggested, asay dochalos asay. The Gemara asked a bomb kasha on that. You only say asay dochalos asay by a regular lav. You don't say it by a lav that has chorus. Eishes ach is chorus. So why would you say it then? Why would you say by achasisha? Why would you say that you could marry? It can't be asay dochalos asay. We didn't answer that question. We will get back to the question. We've now digressed to the whole sugya. Where in the world do you know that an asay in the performance of a positive command, if you overrun a negative command, how do you know that you could do it? And we're saying we learned out from the pasuk in Mishnah Torah in Parshas Kiseitze. It says that Gedilim Taselach, you can make tzitzis, and it says right next to it Leisil B'Shanis. So that's where we know it from. The Gemara now just said not everyone darshan smuchin. Rabbi Yehuda doesn't darshan smuchin. What's the writer Rabbi Yehuda doesn't darshan smuchin? Because how do you know anusas aviv is aser? How do you know that Nechashefa? How do you know it's Beskila? Because they took over Yedoni out of the Parsha to teach me Skila, but not because it's next to each other, next to bestiality. So you see Rabbi Yehuda doesn't darshan smuchim b'chol Torah, but even Rabbi Yehuda who doesn't darshan smuchim, he would darshan the Mishnah Torah because we learn now from Anusas Aviv that Rabbi Yehuda says a man can't marry Anusas Aviv because it says right next to it, Parsha of Rape, it says Lo Yigala Knaf Aviv, that a man can't marry what his mother-in-law, he can't marry his father Anusas Aviv. Good. So he just proved that and the Chacham disagreed with that, but the bottom line is Mishnah Torah you do. So right now we're holding at a point since tzitzis and shatnez is the Mishnah Torah, we have a source fasei dochalos asay. That's what we're holding right now. Okay. Says the Gemara, just the Shemeres Yavam Makos Medaber Ulaver Lo B'Shnei Lavim. You'll be over on two lavim again, the lav of ant and the lav of Shemeres Yavam. Uva Mishnah Torah my time at the Darish. Why do you darshan in Mishnah Torah? Why do you? Okay. Now there's two possibilities for a drasha, fellas. Either it's extra the word, or it's placed there for a reason. One's called hoichacha, it's placed there for a reason. In other words, I have strong evidence that we should go ahead and it's there for a drasha because it shouldn't be here in the first place, or it's totally extra. The word is totally extra. Let's give you examples. Iba yisema mishum demukach. Iba yisema I could tell you of demukach because it evidently is there for a reason. Iba yisema mishum demufnei, or because it's a totally extra word. Those are two reasons why in Mishnah Torah we will dash and smuchim. Iba say mishum the mukach, the imkain, guys, meaning it's mukach to go ahead and darshan. It's mukach to darshan in Mishnah Torah anusas aviv. The imkain lichtav rechmana gabi aroyes. Why isn't this parsha? Why is it written here in Mishnah Torah? It should be in Vayikra. If I ask you what is the main source of arayos in the Torah, you'd all tell me Achremos Vayikra Yudches. Why is it placed over here in Parshas Kiseitze? It must be mukach. It must be to show it's there for a reason. What's the reason? To go ahead and darshan smuchim that what? That anusas aviv is aser. That's mukach. Again, what's the hichacha? The fact that it's here and not there. In other words, if you go ahead, you're describing the parsha of Major League Baseball is written in Clearwater, Florida. And now you go ahead and all of a sudden in New York, there's Major League Baseball. It must be there's something to be learned from in New York because the main source is in Clearwater, Florida. So the main source of Arayas is in Parshas Akramos. Why in the world is it popping up here on in Kiseitze? It must be for the drasha to tell me that a man cannot marry Anusasah. Or you could say it's extra. Just write, don't marry your father's wife, period. Why does it have to mention it's extra, right? To teach me a din of what? Of anusas aviv. It's din actually right, to teach me the din of smuchim, that it's next to each other, to tell me that what? That it's asa. It's next to the parsha of rape, to tell me it's asa. So those are two reasons to darshan Mishnah Torah. Either because it's muchach, because it's out of place, or mufni, because it's extra. In other words, it doesn't have to say it at all. Says the Gemara, B'gabei tzitzis nami. Okay, we're seeing two limudim from Mishnah Torah. The first one was tzitzis and shatnus. The second one was anusas aviv, right, and eishes aviv. Says Ibay Sema Mishum the Mukach. Ibay Sema Mishum the Mufna. Ibay Sema Mishum the Mukach. The Imkain. If you're telling me that you're not supposed to darshan anything about tzitzis, lich the rachmana gabe parshas tzitzis. Guys, in parshas shlach, in Perek Tesvav, you have the parsha of tzitzis. We say it every day, right? The parsha of tzitzis. Al Kanfei B'Deyim, we speak about the parsha of tzitzis in Kriya Shema. Why does it say Gedilin Tasa Lecha in parshas Kiseitze? It should be in parshas shlach. Just like the parsha of Anusas of Eishes Aviv should be in Vayikra, in Achremos, the parsha of Vad of Tzitzis should be in Shlach. Eloi is in the Kiseitze. It's mukach that it must be there for a drasha. It's mukach, it must be there for a drasha. What's the reason it's written over here? It must be for drasha. All you could say, Mishum to Mufna. You could say it's extra. Now, why is it extra? Michti, Ksiv. It says in Parshas Kedoshim, Ubeged Kalayim Shatnis Lo Yala Alecha. Beged of Kalayim Shatnis, you should not Allah let come up on you. So right now, do I know there's an issa of Shatnis? Absolutely. Good, absolutely. So that would make extraneous Leisil B'Shatnis. Since I have a pasuk in Parshas Kedoshim, why do I need a pasuk? Why in Parshas? Right? That's the kasha. It's mufna. It's extra. It's extra lapnuye to make the drasha to shanis and tzitzis. Guys, you good so far? Good. Now, if I could show you it's not extra, then you don't have a limud. I could show you it's not extra. Now, let's be medayek. In Parshas Kedoshim, it says, Ubega kalayim shanis lo ya'ale olecha, should not come up on you. In Parshas Kiseitze, it says like silbas shanis, you should not wear. Right now, I'm wearing this jacket, right? Right now, I'm wearing this jacket. Right now, this box is on me. So you just described two different lashonis. You saw there's an issa to put it on you and an issa to wear it. And there's a necessity of saying both. If there's a necessity of saying both, it's not extra. If it's not extra, I don't have a source for asay dochalos asay. Again, you have to like fear ice, right? You have to go ahead the logic down the line. So says the Gemara, mitzvah srichi. I need it. I need the leisil b'shatnis. I need it for a din in tzitzis. I don't have an extra for a din of esay dochalos esay. Dikas rachmana lo yalo lecha. If we just would have said the one in Parshas Kedoshim that the shatnis should not come upon you, havamina, I would have said kol derech halo asar rachmana. Fafilu moichrei ksus. Guys, a person who's selling garments is able to go ahead and carry on his back shatnez. He's not over the isser. Halal means to bring up, right? Halal means to put on. So just on you. So let's say I was selling. I'm a garment, like So look, I have my wares on my arm. I'm showing you my different wares. It's on me, and if it doesn't say like silbash, I would say that's usher. And we know for a reason it's not usher. Therefore, that's what Silbash tells me. No, it's not enough to be on you. It has to be derech levisha, meaning it provides a certain amount of hana rather than going ahead and showing my wares to the prospective customers. Says the Gemara the following. If it would just said, lo yalo lechav, I mean, I would have thought, kol derech hala aser, just wearing it as aser rachmana. Vafilu moichrei ksus, and even a person who sells garments. Kasar rachmana le silba shatnis, dumya de levisha. It has to be on you, similar to levisha. What is that? The isbei hana, that you're having a certain amount of pleasure from it. So therefore, I need le silbash. Because rachmana le silbash, and if you wrote le silbash, guys, and you didn't write hala, havamina dafka levisha, the nafesh haniyasa. When is it asa for shatness? Only what? Derech levisha. When you go ahead, what, and have wear it, because then you're having maximum hana. It's giving you, from the cold, or aval hala, just having it on you, even if you're having hana, such a level of hana, not, because that you're having a certain amount of hana. Okay? Good. So right now, you have a kasha. Guys, let's fair us the kasha. Your whole raya, that asay dochalos asay, is a juxtaposition of shatness to what? To tzitzis. And it's extra for that reason. It's not extra. I need to tell me the silver shatness to tell me a chiddush. That what? That a moicher person who is for derech, just not to have a na, just to show that what? He can go ahead and do it. In other words, I need it for a reason. By both. One maximum I know, one for moicher meksus. Either way, since I need the silbash, I no longer have it extra for juxtaposition, and now I don't have a source for say dochalos asay. So what does the Gemara have to do now? It has to restore the extricity. I think I just made up a word. it has to restore the extra kite. How about that? The extra kite. And we have to restore the fact that it's extra. We have to restore that. Okay. How do I restore that? In Cain, meaning it was only there to teach me this din of shatness of levisha. Lichderachman leisil b'shatness. Semru pishtin yachtav lamali. Guys, what does the pasuk say? Leisil b'shatness, semru pishtin yachtav. Don't wear shatness, wool and linen together. Why does it have to say semru pishtin? Michti. Kasav ubeged kalayim shatness layalo lecha. It says beged kalayim leshatness layalo lecha. It says in Parshas Kedoshim. Now let's translate, guys. Ubeged kilayim. Don't put on you. Do you know what kilayim is right now? Let's say you opened up the Torah for the first time and you never heard of anything. It doesn't describe what it is. It just says ubeged kilayim. A beged of kilayim should not come upon you. That's what it says. If I could show you the word beged means automatically wool and linen, then in Parshas Kiseitze, where it says like silba shatness semru pishin yachtav, that semen and pishtin are extraneous. Because I know it's semru pishtin because the word beged means semru pishtin. Where do you know that from? You know, guys, from the parsha of what? From the parsha of what? Of Negoyim. By Negoyim it says beged semer or beged pishtin. Beged semer or beged pishtin. It says when you find saras, you can find saras in a person, you can find saras in a house, you can find saras in a beged. Which beged? A beged of semer or a beged of kalayim. So of pishtin. So you see the word beged, guys, means what? Means beged means both. So very good. So now the pasuk says, ubeged kalayim, a beged of wool and linen, you shouldn't wear. Memela, when it says leisil b'shatnus semru pishtim yachtav, the semru pishtim is extra. You don't have to say it. You know it from what? From the fact that it's a beged. If it's a beged, I know from Negoyim that what? That it's both. So very good. Mamish, this is a classic Gemara, guys. Classic raid. Classic cheshbon. Says the Gemara very good. In Cain, Nachamo. If you're just telling me it's there to teach me a din, and it has to be derech levisha, lichter rachmana leisil b'shanis, kama. Semru pishtin lamali. Why do you have to write semru pishtin? Now, maybe I write semru pishtin because I have to know what shatness is. No. Michti. Kosav, it's written in the parsha of Negoyim. It's written in Kedoshim. Ubeged kalayim shatness lo yalo lecha. A beged of shatness you should be upon you. The Tana de Rabbi Yishmael, and they learned in the Yeshiva Rabbi Yishmael, Hoyel v'nemra b'Torah stam begodim, since the Torah says in Parshas Negoyim, begodim upor lacha chased be'echa mehem semru pishtin, avkol, so to every beged semru pishtin. Therefore, if every beged is semru pishtin, and it says ubeged kalayim shatnus layalocha, I know the beged is made out of what? Semru pishtin. Semru pishtin because Rachman Lamali. Why in the parsha of Kiseitse? Why does it say right? Shma mino lapnuye. It's extra. What's it extra for, guys? For the juxtaposition to tzitzis to teach me the halacha of asay docha lo sasay. So right now we've held serve. Because right now at this point in time, we know it's extra. It's extra for the chiddush of what of juxtaposition to shatnus to teach me asay docha lo sasay. Fred, the Gemara goes back to the question. I want to show you it's not extra. Again, we're questioning the extraticity. V'kati itzterich. Salkadei dechamin, I would have thought. Halahi the loy nafish hana asa. Hana, hala, that doesn't have a lot of hana. Abalavisha the nafish hani asa. Kol trei mine asa rachmana. Chas rachmana, semru pishtin. Guys, where are you going to have more hana from? Just having it on you or wearing it? Clearly wearing it. It's much closer to your actual guf. So maybe I would say the following. I would think if I put on the hala just on myself, which is a minimal amount of hana, then semru pishtin is asar. But if I'm wearing what? I'm wearing my jacket. I'm wearing my jacket and I'm having a lot of hana. Maybe it will be asar even other minim. Maybe any two minim will be asar. Maybe a wool and silk. Heshi, this is for you. Maybe wool and polyester. Maybe anything would be asa because you're having maximum hana. Therefore, the Torah has to tell me, no. Even by maximum hana, it's only wool and linen, but it's not extra to teach me asay dochalos asay. So again, I have another question. The the format's the same. I want to destroy the fact that it's extra. How could I do that? By saying, listen, I still need to tell me the words semru pishtin by in Parshas Kiseitse, because I would have thought since silbash, maybe kalayim. What does kalayim mean? It means any two, a mixture of things. Why am I dafka saying wool and linen? Maybe it's wool and silk. Therefore, you need to tell me no, dafka wool and linen. Even a place where maximum no, it's dafka wool and linen, but it's not extra to teach me asay dochalos asay. That's the cheshbon of the Gemara. Says the Gemara, imkain. Lishtay kramine. If that's the whole reason, let the Torah be quiet. If it tastes shatnus. In other words, I would know semru pishtim without the word semru pishtim. Why? It says in the parsha of guys. What does it say in Kedoshim? It says ubeged shatnus loyalalacha. Now, beged means what? Semru pishtim. I know that from the Goyim. It says the word shatnus. It says like silba shatnus. So just like Kedoshim, it means semru pishtin because it says beged and it says shatnus shava. Just like shatnus by Parshas Kedoshim was semru pishtin, so too in Parshas Kiseitse the word shatnus means semru pishtin. So therefore, I would not think that it means what? Wool and silk, wool and polyester. I would know it from the comparison to what? The Parshas Kedoshim. Therefore, when it says like silver shatnus semru pishtin yachtov, I restored the fact that it's extra, thus restoring the limit of asay dochalos asay. Good cheshbon. Says the Gemara Vaita. Elishta kramine v'teisei shatnus mahala mehala. V'tani b'yishmael time with the kos rachmana semru pishtin halav hochi klaim b'tzitzis havamina the as rachmana. According to Rabbi Shmuel, again, the whole reason that the reason why you could wear shatnus is because why? Because it says the limud to the juxtaposition to shatnus and tzitzis halav hachi kalayim b'tzitzis havamin the asar achmana. 1 second. Again, going along with the way the premise we started share. If the Torah doesn't tell me, I would have thought it's mutter. So what's the reason? It's what I would say that it's mutter by tzitzis of kalayim. Because of the smichas aparshias. Mashma without the smichas aparshias, I would say it's what? It's asr. Why would you say it's asr, says the Gemara? 1 second. Baksiv v'asur lahem tzitzis al kanfei bigdeihem. They should make tzitzis on the edge of their garments. V'tana de Rabbi Shmuel, and we learned in the Yeshiva Rabbi Shmuel, Kol begodim semru pishtim heim. Right? All begodim at semru pishtim, as we say from the Goyim. V'amrachmana, avidlei tichla. It says you should put tchelis at the end of the tzitzis. The tichla imrahu. And tichla is what? Is wool. Good? Tichla is wool. So guys, it says over here, you should put tzitzis at the end of your garment. Good? What's your garment made of? Can it be made of linen? Of course, you learn from the Goyim it can be made of linen. Guys, Beged Bigdehem. Beged teaches me linen and what? And wool. Good? So it says, for asuli, you should make right. For asulahem tzitzis, make tzitzis, al kanfeg bigdehem. So what's my beged made out of? Can it be made out of linen, yes or no? Clearly yes, right? Clearly yes, it can be made out of linen. It's a beged. And what is tzitzis? What is tcheles made out of? Wool. Tcheles is wool. Fred the Gemara Bam Kasha. Why do I need the juxtaposition of shatnez to tzitzis to tell me that what? You can wear a beged of kalayim in your tzitzis. Even without that limud, I would know it. I would know it independently from the parsha of tzitzis itself. Why? V'asul tzitzis al kanfei bigdehem. You should make tzitzis on the edge of your beged. What's your beged made out of? Linen. Where do I know that from? Shrotzim. From the Goyim, not Shrotzim, from the Goyim. And it says you should put a psil tcheles. You put tcheles at the end of your tzitzis. The cheles I'm going to prove to you is wool. So of course I know you can wear. Of course I know you can wear tzitzis made out of wool, even without the smichas and parsha. Independently, but in the parsha tzitzis itself, I hear it. That's the Gemara's kasha. One more time. The Tani Yishmael kol begadim tsemru pishtim heim v'amrachmana avalei tichla. Go ahead and make wool. The tichla imrahu, and tichla is wool. When my the tichla imrahu, how do you know? Mid the sheish kisna tichla imrahu. Guys, in the big day kahuna, it says you should tcheles agamon tlash shani, and it says sheish. Sheish is linen. Sheish is linen. And the only two things that it's made out of are linen and wool. So when sheish is linen, obviously it's the cheles argamon is wool. So I know tichla is wool. So we have a gevaldige kasha. Why do I need the juxtaposition to teach me that's a het if it sits of shatnez, even independently within the parsha? Since you have to put the silt cheles at the edge of your beged, I know that it could be. It could be what? I think we just lost Eretz Yisrael. Says the Gemara. Itzrich. I still need the pasuk of the juxtaposition because salka de limina kid Rava. I would have thought like Rava. Okay, now let's stop right here. Before you meet Rava, whatever Rava says, I would have thought. Now, since of Rava, I need the limit of the juxtaposition. Since I need the limit of the juxtaposition, I have the sugya of asay dochalos asay. Again, right now, Rashi points out, guys, we're ending the sugya. Right now, the source for asay dochalos asay. Right now, the source for asay dochalos asay is the juxtaposition of leisil b'shatnez to gedilim tasalach. That's the source. Ending right now. Freg the Gemara, why do I need that as a source? I have another source. The other source is the parsha of Beged Tchelis together. And if I have that source and I don't have that, then therefore what? I don't have a asay dochalos asay. And for the Gemara, I would have thought like Rava. Fine, okay. Since I would have thought like Rava, then therefore I need the smichas aparshios. Since I need the smichas aparshios, I know asay dochalos asay. Now let's analyze Rava. What Rava said and why you need the juxtaposition. What did Rava say? The Rava Rami. Rava asked the following stira. Ksiv hakanaf. It says hakanaf min kanaf, meaning whatever material your beged is made out of, the tzitzis should be made out of. Do you remember? I'll go back in time. My brother-in-law Heshi, remember this? You go to a department store and you get yourself a bar mitzvah set. They had this silk talis, like white and blue. You'd wear it as a shawl, and the tzitzis was made of silk. In other words, the tzitzis was made out of the same material as the beged. Yet it says mina knaf mashma that it has to be the same. Yet on the other hand, it says semru pishtin. How do you go? Yet it says semru pishtin. Haketzad. How do you reconcile the fact that it says it can be any material, meaning that the material has to be the beged's material, and reconcile it by the fact that it says no, it has to be either semru or pishtin. Haketzad. Semeru pishtin poitrin bein b'minan bein shalai b'minan. If I have a silk garment, I can make the tzitzis out of linen. If I have a silk garment, I can make the tzitzis out of wool. But shar minim, b'minan poitrin shalai b'minan ain't poitrin. But other minim, silk can only part the silk. If I had a wool beged, I couldn't put silk tzitzis on it. Okay, so therefore, this is Rava. So I would have thought that what? That the Tana Shmuel learns like Rava, and therefore what? Big Dehem. I would have thought that what? That it doesn't have to be shatness, right? Because it could be a beged of what? Of silk. And it could be a tzitz of linen or wool, and therefore it's not shatness. Kamash Malon, therefore what? I can't learn it from the Parsha independently, and I needed what? The speaker's Parshias. Says the Gemara, Tana Shmuel less like the Rava. The Shana does not hold the Rava. He doesn't hold the Rava, right? He has his own, but he doesn't hold the Rava. Tana Shmuel, right? Because he doesn't darshan kanaf min kanaf. Rashi says he doesn't darshan kanaf min kanaf. The Latana Shmuel talish shel shar minim ein chayav b'tzitzis. The beged kasiv, guys. Like the Tana Shmuel, since beged he darshans from the goyim, the only beged that would be mechuyev in tzitzis is one made of wool and linen, not silk. Like Rava, silk would be mechuyev, and the question is, why do you put there? You could put there silk, or you could put there linen or wool. Like Tana Shmuel, if you had a silk garment, you would not be chayev. So obviously he doesn't hold like Rava. So if he doesn't hold like Rava, back to the original question. What's the original question? Let's learn out kalayim b'tzitzis independently from the parsha of tzitzis, and not from the smichas of parshas and parshas kiseitze. Says the Gemara, no. Salka, it's the I still need the parsha what? I still need it. Salka, I mean, I would have said ki the yukad the Rava. I would have thought like Rava's diak hakanaf mina kanaf v'hachi kamar amana. Here's what the Torah is saying. Ovid leit semer let semer. Put wool for wool. U pishtin le pishtin. And linen for linen. However, v'chiavida semer let semer svia. And then if you make wool to wool, then you dye it. Aval semer le pishtin or pishtin le semer. If you go ahead and cross, you cross one for the other. Loi, I would say you don't dye it. Of tcheles kasar rachmanat semer pishtin. That feel it semer le pishtin or pishtin le semer. You go ahead and dye. That's what I need it for. Memela, it's extra. So right now at this point in time, we ended the share. We have a source vasei dochalosa say. What's the source vasei dochalosa say? It's the juxtaposition of what of gedil and tas elocha. That's juxtaposition. Now here's the question. We didn't answer the question of by Yevamot. Yevamot is the chi of kares, right? We didn't answer that question. But just to give you a little flavor, what's the reason I say dochalosa say? What's the reason do we say a mitzvah say is dochalosa say? In Svara, guys, it should be the opposite. What's more chomer, an asay or a los asay? You don't get misa. There's only two mitzvahs asay you get kares for: failure to bring the korban pesach and failure to have a bris milah. Any other mitzvahs asay, there's a din of kfiyah. Bezdin can force you to do it, but there's no mitzvahs bezdin. Yet we know by lois asays, the lois asays, most of them you get malchus, kares. So l'chayr it's mochamer. So why is it that I say dochalos I say? So good, we have a limit for it. Good. What's the tam of the limit? What's the reason behind it? So there's a very, very, very famous Ramban in by the Aseres Dibris, and he says very geschmack. What's a higher level of avodas Hashem? To serve Hashem ba'ava with love, or to serve Hashem b'yira from fear? Obviously, it's to serve from love. It's a much higher madrega. It's not like a default, I'm scared I'm going to get punished, right? Every fear, there's that fear. Ava, to serve out of love, is a much higher level. A mitzvahs asay, a performance of a positive command, is for love for Hashem. A lois asay, refraining from doing something, what is a fear of Hashem. Therefore, since Ava is a stronger level of what? Of avodas Hashem, the mitzvahs asay of what? Of an asay, the mitzvahs asay that is mi'ava is doicha the lois asay, which is yira. That is the very, very famous Ramban. Very famous Ramban. There is a very difficult Rabbeinu Nisim in Parshas. It's in, I'll quote you where it is. It's in Masechta Shabbos, Kuf Lamed Gimel. And he says something very fascinating. He says the following. He says, Asay dochalos asay, where you have a mitzvah asay and it comes in conflict with a los asay, there is no los asay. There's no los asay. It's not there. In other words, when you're wearing these tzitzis, there is no lav of what? Of shatnez. It doesn't exist. There is no lav of shatnez. B'mokum the asay, there was never stated a lois asay. B'mokum the asay, there's no lois asay. It doesn't exist. So by yibum, it would mean in the place of the mitzvah of yibum, there's no isser of eshes ach. It doesn't exist. It's not there. B'mokum that mitzvah. So the reason I say dochalos asay is because there's no los asay. The problem with that is the lashon of asay dochalos asay, meaning the los asay is there. You're just pushing it out of the way. It's mashma from the words of Rabbi Benunissim that there is no los asay. There is no los asay to push away. So I spoke this over my son Yehona's son, and he said the Torah over here is that the way they explain is that there's different dargas. There's a darga of chutcha, that it's here and it's pushed away. It's here and it's pushed away. And then there's a darga that of chutra, that it's there, but it's mutter. And then there's not there at all. Nafkamina would be the following. Let's say a man, yibum has to have the ability to go ahead and have a child. Let's say a man would have a bia without an ejaculation. Let's say there would be no zriya over there. He would not be giving any zera into the woman. So if the reason is als hutra, there's no mitzvah, guys. You want to kind of mitzvah. It's mutter when you do the mitzvah. Over there, since you didn't do the mitzvah, there'd be a lav. Like Rabbeinu Nissim, meaning it doesn't mean it's mutter. It means even in that scenario where you didn't be kind of the mitzvah at all, there's nothing. You weren't over in any yisra whatsoever. You guys are here. It's a big lumdis over here. Do this out of me. It's a big lumdis. I wasn't kind of the mitzvah, but I didn't do an aveira. Hutra means where you do the mitzvah, the lav is mutter. But there is a lav, but it's mutter. Like Rabbeinu Nissim, there is no lav. And nafkamina in halacha would be, let's say you didn't perform the mitzvah because the whole purpose is to have a child, and the action you did would not go ahead and produce a child. There, the nafkamina would be beautifully would be, hey, light hutra, you're still a problem. You didn't do any mitzvah. Light the tam that Rabbeinu Nissim, not at all. One more, so that's two pshatim. The Ramban's Asay Dochalosa say the mitzvah of what of Ava is before Yira, very nice. The lumdis of Rabbeinu Nissim that there's no mitzvah b'makam asay, and this appealed to me very much. I'm going to share with you a Rashi. I'm going to share with you a Rashi. Now here's the pasuk. It says, "B'chol asher amarti aleichem," everything I say aleichem, tishameru, v'shem elokim acher erim leisaskiru. You can't mention that anyone's God. Lo yishama al picha, should not be heard in your mouth. Now we know from going through Shas, anytime it says tishameru, hishamar pen va'al, it's a lav. So look at Rashi, guys. Look at this Rashi. Aleichem tishameru, lasois kol mitzvahs asay be'azhara, to make every mitzvah asay a los asay. Shekol shmira shebetayra, anytime he uses the lashon of shmira, shin mem reish in the Torah, azharahi b'mokem lav. It takes the place of the word loy. It takes the place of the word loy. In other words, guys, if you don't do the mitzvah, you're doing something wrong. It's not pshat you only didn't do something right. You're over on a lav by not doing. Hashem says, if you don't do this, you're doing something wrong. In other words, there's a mitzvah to keep Shabbos. If we don't keep Shabbos, you know you're over in a lav. Says Rashi, based upon the lashon tishameru, every mitzvah say, licked in the mitzvah say, ashtika lois say. There's a little lois say. So beautifully, guys. Now you know why asay is dochalos asay? Because in every asay there is a lois asay. That lois asay is helping. You got to double the asay and the lois asay, and that overrides the lois asay. A very, very beautiful Rashi based upon that limit. Okay, wish everyone a good Shabbos. Give you a lot of food for thought for Shabbos. Cheskel's my mitzvah parsha.
Oh yeah,
yeah, many moon ago. Okay, thank you for listening. I really appreciate it.
Liz, I must say,